We need to talk about a film festival which has chronicled every year of everyday life in Dover since the 70s. Now, it's offering its archives online in order to secure its future at the moment. The 2020 fundraising film can't be shown in the local cinemas this March, obviously, so the public are being offered the chance to buy a year they may appear in. The film festival features major events, but also it's a social history of what we wore, how we behaved, what we ate, all of that kind of stuff over the changing years. And our reporter Joe Byrne has been to Dover to find out more.
It was a former army man and Pathy filmmaker Ray Warner who began recording life in the port after the war.
Natives and visitors alike, everybody in Dover captured the holiday spirit to make this year's carnival the best ever. Certainly the famous town has never had such a fine procession of floats.
In 1972 he started showing his films in the town hall, and they continued to be shared with local people annually until 1999. John Honeysett is local, born and bred, and would have been amongst the crowds.
You can actually see almost what period we are in by the way people act and what they're wearing and the way that culture's changed. If you look at the carnival, you'll see people standing on rooftops throwing coins at all the floats going by. Now, you would never be allowed to do that today. And also the pageants. There was more picnics in those days everywhere. I call it a pictorial, historical events of the year that are kept.
Our pageant in this year, in 2005, starts with a parade of all the flags of the town proudly bearing the name of Dover throughout the world. They are always referred to as the Daughters of Dover.
The festival ran until 1999, but it was a local hotelier and enthusiastic cameraman Mike McFarnell who picked up the camera in this century.
World Cup Archery was probably my biggest event. The sun even shone for the whole week, and I was able to film it and put it into the 2007 Dover film.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to greet the contestants from the following countries? Australia. Please welcome Belgium.
Last year's film was shown just as lockdown loomed in March, but this year, with cinemas closed, the festival's revenue has been cut off.
Currently at the Silver Screen, they show it in March every year, and they have sessions every afternoon and evening for about 10 days. They charge around about £5, and that is their sole income which they get to produce the next year's. And March this year isn't going to happen.
So Dover Rotary have stepped in, and for a donation you can buy a link to a year of your choice from the last 20 films, including this year's, a year like no other.
The sun dawns on another year, and Dover begins to prepare for what the next 12 months will bring.
This year started quite reasonably. There was a person on a jet elevator, and I thought, oh, this is not going to be too bad a film. And then, of course, there was the first lockdown. There was an awful lot to take regarding the people, and obviously the clapping on Thursday night for the NHS workers, and empty shelves when people decided they needed toilet rolls, because that's what this year was about.
John and Mike hope that a tradition started by one man and his camera will continue to record history, and that with the public's help, next year it will be back on the large screen where it belongs.
I implore everyone to just go and watch it and see what Dover does. They don't shout out a lot, but such a lot goes on in Dover that no one even knows about. And it gives you that, well, it shows you what actually isn't happening now and what will happen gradually afterwards.
Completing yet another decade in the life of Dover.
There you go then. You can keep those films going by visiting the Dover Film Festival Just Giving page and choosing a year to download for yourself, maybe even seeing again an event that you might remember being part of, and perhaps you won't believe what you were wearing. Speaking of which, I found out what day of the year it is today, and it's so congruous with lockdown. It's so fitting. I'll tell you what that is very, very soon.